Hello everyone, my name is Vivek Rajaram Patkal. I am the founder and director of Edu-Master online tutoring services. Today, in the another episode of Tutorpreneurs, we have an amazing, inspiring, and motivating personality here. So I would like to welcome Laura to our Tutorpreneur series. Hi Laura, welcome.
Hi, Vivek. Hi. Nice to
Can
be
you
here.
can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Laura Link. I am in the south of the United States in Louisiana, and I am both a classroom teacher and an ACT and SAT prep tutor. I've been doing this for 12 years now, and I just love helping students maximize their capabilities so that they can get the scores that they need and basically have the futures, have the best first step for their futures.
Yep, that's actually so you tutor adult students, is it? The high school
I, I,
students.
I tutor high school students, yes.
Okay. So, can you please tell us about your journey and how you started and where you are right now?
Absolutely. So the way that I got started tutoring is pretty interesting. I was teaching at a school, a Title I school in Florida, which Title I means you've got a certain number of students who are in the poverty scale. So they actually had a grant to pay teachers to do tutoring after school. And I was teaching an ACT prep class during the school day, so students didn't have to pay for tutoring. They got to do it in class and learn how to raise their scores. But of course, some students still needed more one-to-one attention. And so I started with athletes who were having trouble passing their tests. They possibly weren't going to graduate just because of this one high stakes test. And in Florida, if they didn't pass the high stakes test, but they did get a certain score on the ACT, it would be a concordant score and count, and they could still graduate. So my assistant principal kept sending me these athletes who, like I had one who was accepted to Notre Dame University, which is a very exclusive university, and yet he wasn't passing this one test. So I started working with him, and then he passed and the results were good. So the guidance counselors started sharing that information with parents, again, usually of students who were on the baseball team or the football team, and they needed to get a certain score in order to get that recruiter to talk to them. And so I just got good results and made it a business for myself. I'm still teaching full time as well and tutoring a lot of hours after school and on the weekends, but I do it because I truly love it and I truly like seeing the results. So yeah, it just kind of built organically. And then I had a time where I found out that there was a tutoring company that needed help. So I started working for them because I wasn't getting regular students, and it was just kind of a side thing back at that time. So I started working for her. I learned some more formal techniques about the business of tutoring. And when I moved from Florida to Louisiana, where my family is, where I am now, she was an amazing mentor to me. And others who are willing to share and don't see the tutoring business as something that they want to, is so proprietary. If they're willing to share and help build other people's businesses, which I like to help do as well. I got so much learning from her. And so when I moved to Louisiana, I started up with the same fees that she was charging and the same procedure. Like my sessions are an hour and a half, not an hour, so that students can do the practice tests with me passage by passage, and we can go over it when it's fresh, what their thinking process was. And all of that collaboration just really helped. And now it's not just a side thing I do when there's somebody who needs me. I'm booked like full time, 3 hours after school every day, and I like it.
It's actually a very awesome journey you have had. And
It is.
I can understand it's really very tough working with athletes in the academic part because they tend to run away from academics a lot.
They're kinesthetic learners. They like to move, and then when you sit them down and tell them be still and memorize this, it's not computing. So I talk to it as similar as memorizing your plays. Like for a football, I'm like, how do you learn your plays? And they'll tell me, and then I'll use those skills that they already have for this. You've got to put it into what your students' strengths are and make them feel like they're smart where they're smart, and then extend that over to the academic learning.
Oh, that's actually a great way of learning for the students, and
Yeah.
it's a great way that you're teaching. So now, what actually was your thinking process when you started tutoring? Means what was there going on in your mind? Like, I have to do this. I'm willing to do this. What was going exactly in your mind?
I think first, when I started out, I really was just kind of doing the assistant principal a favor. And then this is what happened. I found that I loved that one-to-one or small group. I just loved being able to pull out of students what their thinking process was, which you can't always do in a classroom with 25 or 30 kids. And it brought out more of the the heart of my teaching, of really being able to help somebody. And yeah, when I guess like a lot of people, when you find something that you are good at, it gives you joy to do it. And so I was like, oh wow, I'm good at this. So I can help others.
Yeah, and I'm very sure they are being helped very nicely till now as well. So
Well, I mean, the reward is when they come back and they say, I got into college and I didn't even think I was going to be able to go, or I got into my dream school and now I'm getting a full ride because I raised my score 5 points, or those sorts of things are very, very rewarding.
and as being a teacher, the feeling which we have at that moment, it's unexpressible. Like the student who you have tutored just made something which he was not thinking he will be able to do or she will be able to do. So that particular feeling is what keeps many teachers go in the same process like of teaching. Means that feeling only means it comes very rarely, like yearly, twice or thrice. It may come from different students at another time. There's different
Right.
time. But for that feeling, sometimes I feel that I tutor basically for getting that satisfaction at the end, and it keeps on motivating me to do more good for all the tutors. Means all the students who come, means who are we are tutoring right now.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to, it's nice to hear that from you, because yes, it's, we teachers, we want to feel appreciated as well. And we feel most appreciated when our students learn what they were supposed to learn, and they come back and they tell us that they did. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Uh, it actually is very rewarding at the end, we can say, because we may have turned a student into a path which may lead the humankind into a better way. We will never know. Even if we have transformed one student, one person is enough to change the whole world. So I just hope, yep, yep, please continue.
You were absolutely right. You just made me think of a student that, um, so I taught her in 10th grade. And then I taught her ACT prep as well. And then her graduating year, she gave me this note 2 years after what she wrote in the note happened. So what happened was she had written a paper, and my comment on the paper was, I can tell that you worked really hard at this and you accomplished your goals. You're a really good writer. You seem to have a natural talent at writing. thought about it really again, except that I expected good writing from her after that and got it. So 2 years later, as she was graduating, she gave me a thank you note, and she said that she's going on to journalism school and she's going to be a writer, and that her first belief in her, she always wanted to be a writer. She didn't think she was good. She had given up on it. And because of that comment that I put on her paper, she took it back up again. And I didn't even know that until 2 years later.
You know, there is always a teacher who inspires a student. Like if there is a good teacher, he always had some person in his life who taught him really very well. As you were mentioning your student right now, I was just remembering about my best teacher who used to be the principal of the school, and it actually is a very special bond that we can't ever express. We can't even tell it to anyone. Whenever I call my teacher, he just says, "My child is calling me." Means,
Oh,
and I have started the same thing with my students as well. Whoever comes to teach under me, I just consider them as my children and teach them the best possible way I can. So there is always some teacher who inspires us. So was there any teacher who inspired you also a lot?
my second grade teacher. Second grade, she saw, and again, it was writing with me, and she secretly entered some of the things that I wrote into contests, apparently. But she just always affirmed my particular creative style and supported it and encouraged it and would give me extra assignments and talk to my parents about it, and really felt like she took a true interest in me, and it made a huge difference, a huge difference.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you're passing that teacher's legacy to your students as well.
Apparently I am.
There are very rare people we remember in our life, and the best teacher who made difference into our life, we remember them the whole lifetime. So
Absolutely.
coming to the next question, uh, do you think is there such thing called right time for starting tutoring business?
For starting a tutoring business, is there a right time? I don't think so. Probably not. All I would say though is know that you really are an expert in what you want to tutor. So it's got to come out of you have a skill that, because these are impressionable children, and some people tutor kindergarten, first grade, young children, and they are very impressionable. So if you find your skill, the thing that you are good at, and talk to other tutors. There are many Facebook groups for tutors and opportunities like this podcast that you have, um, to learn from others. And then when you're ready, work with a student or two, maybe a child of a friend, who then can get good results, and ask them to spread the word, and then they'll know people. And so when a parent says, I trusted this person with my child and they got good results with them, then, and you've done that for a few students, then it's time to officially start your tutoring business. Also, do not be afraid to pass a student along to somebody else who is an expert. Like, let's say you're a reading tutor for lower grades, but you're not certified with students with dyslexia, and a student with dyslexia comes to you. Don't try to help that student. Refer them on to somebody who's certified to help students with dyslexia, and you will just build up more credibility as a reputation of somebody who truly wants to help. So definitely, I would say it's great when we can have a network and know who specializes in what.
Yeah, That's absolutely correct. And as you said about this podcast, there is also a selfish motive of mine before starting it. I actually want to learn a lot of things from tutor like you, and want to be collaborated with many people like across the globe. So I'm still in the learning curve, we can say. Uh, how do you think like a person should start off his business, tutoring business? What should be the starting point?
What should be the starting point? Like, let me ask you to clarify the question in terms of doing the work, in terms of
Doing the marketing
publicize,
means publicizing it and
publicizing.
getting the client. Yes.
Okay. So if you can join local parents' Facebook groups and provide value. First of all, don't just jump in and try to sell your class, but instead, when somebody, says something about my student is struggling in whatever, and you just provide value. I'll give you an example. So I'm focused primarily on ACT, especially in my local area, because our schools, we're an ACT state, so our students take the ACT. I will, with everything with COVID, when certain locations had canceled the test, I would proactively go into the parents group and I would let them know which locations still had the tests available, which locations had canceled. And the research I had done, I was like, hey, register at this particular school because they're a Catholic school and they're not having to follow the same rules as the public schools, and they've tested in June and July, so they're likely to stay open and not cancel their testing. So I just proactively became an expert in some of those groups and somebody that people would ask questions to. And I'm not selling my services at all, but then when I did have a class or a boot camp coming up, then when I put that in there, they already knew who I was. They already knew that I was trustworthy. And it's just a matter, it's not as much selling as a matter of, does my student need this at this time? I know this person I can trust to go to. So find good articles that you can, that have to do with what you're tutoring, and summarize them and share them out proactively rather than even waiting for people to ask questions in the groups. And people will see you as an expert and as a go-to person.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. Some person said that if you want to sell something, you have to initially buy other people's time. Like we have to get them so much interactive, or we have to give them so much information so that they feel giving their time in at least reading the content which we are putting. And if they
Exactly.
see your name like for 2 3 times regarding the same ACT prep, so for sure whenever something like ACT prep comes to their mind, they'll, the first instant what they will think is about link private tutoring. So
Hopefully,
now,
some people do. I still get most of my business, almost all of my business. I just do some social media, like I said, and no advertising and word of mouth. And I'm able to connect with the students who need me.
oh, that's actually a great way of getting the students. So you don't do any marketing, paid marketing on social media for getting the
I
students?
don't. I did last July, right before COVID, I had a live boot camp that I did use somebody that I knew. I had tutored her son and we did a trade, and she's a Facebook marketer. So she did some ads for me, and here's the thing. She knew the secrets of who to target and how to do the back end of the ad so that it targeted the right people. If I used the same exact copy and tried to do that ad myself, it would probably fall flat. But she knew the background secrets. And so I had her run those ads for me for that live class, and it did sell out. I had 30 students in the class. So I would certainly be willing to do it again if basically if she would help me again and do all the back end stuff. And that's the problem with teaching and tutoring for so long. Now, those of you who are full-time tutors, you have time to maybe take a class or learn this secret Facebook admin that I can't seem to figure out. And figure that out. But if you do, I think it is all in the targeting and the knowing what buttons to click on, how to do that. We can model other people's ad copy, right? You can find somebody else's ad copy, find something that works, play with it until you've turned it into your own. I'm not saying plagiarize at all, but just the format of it. We can model that and come up with something that is student focused and not tutor focused, right? It's got to be what your results are, what your students are. But other than that, no, I haven't really done any advertising. I do live videos on Instagram, and I have it connected to my Facebook. So every time I do it on Instagram, it goes onto my Facebook. And then I've got a Facebook group, which all tutors should have a Facebook group. And I put special, things just there, just for the group. And just basically sharing out information, not really a lot of selling. Maybe I should get a little bit better at that call to action at the end. But yeah, that's how I stay full. And most of it is, I will ask students after, if they're happy with my services, I'll just let them know that, because they usually found me through somebody. So I'll remind them, you know how your friend, whoever told you about me, feel free to tell your friends about me as well. And I'd love to be able to help your friends as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
As you just said about the background things, the buttons they have to press. So I think you and me are on the same page here. I don't know much thing about technology at all. And someone says technology, like computer and technology, I just run away. I just don't want to stay there at all. So I have hired a person who does the work for me, but we haven't actually done an ad campaign till now. So we have a team of around 5 tutors and 2 non-tutoring staff. So one does the content writing for us, and the other does the digital stuff like website, the background button pressing and all. I just tell them that I want this, and it's like uh, I
That's
came to know
great.
I came to know that neither am I a good content writer, nor do I want to press the buttons which I don't know. I don't have like
Right.
I
Hire
don't have that
somebody
those
else.
messages. Yeah,
Yes.
and I
Hire
don't even
somebody else.
have the patience to learn that as well. So as you say, if someone is specialized in that, just take their services or give them services.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But just stay out there, be visible in your community, and people will work with you. And then when you're getting results, it turns into a big, wonderful snowball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And after a certain, like after 2 or 3 years, it becomes a huge snowball. Like
Yes. And then you hire
particle.
tutors like you did. See, I haven't hired anybody yet. Right now, I just refer, if I get too full, I just refer people out to my colleagues. But that's the next step for my business is actually hiring somebody and having other tutors who work with me.
Yeah, coming to this point of discussion, what are your future plans? Like, what are you thinking for the next 3 years or 5 years, so that any person in the audience or me want to connect with you in the coming future? So how can we do it?
Absolutely. Well, so I have 8 years till my school board retirement, and the plan is to go ahead and stick it out through that and continue the tutoring until then. But I want to, I've added group classes this year, other than the boot camps, which I was always doing. I've added regular group classes, and so I'm still offering one-to-one. I'm going to do more group classes, just very small group classes, so that I can help more people, because I don't want to be able to turn them away, but to do group classes, I have thought about the ones that I'm offering now, and it's really got to be done in the right way so everybody gets the same value. And then when I do retire from the school board, I will definitely be going full time. And I may be doing some training of teachers since I've been in the classroom. I would love to go share, have schools hire me to come in and train their teachers on how to help bring in the ACT and the SAT into the content area classroom, and how to find time for that, because it's very difficult to find time for that in addition to everything else that you want to do. So I will continue tutoring, do more group classes, as well as, once I've retired, train other teachers.
Yeah, that I wish you all the best for that. And I consider this training the teachers and tutors. It's
Yes.
actually a very noble cause that which you have thought. Why? Because I was tutoring in person from the before COVID. From the previous 2 years, I was doing in person tutoring. And when the COVID hit, I personally never believed myself that someone can learn through online learning. Before the COVID, I never thought. And when the COVID hit, a lockdown came here, strict lockdown was there, nobody was able to come out of their house. So I was just left with nothing. And I had to find out some ways. So I got in touch with some wonderful people like Joanne is there. We have the ultimate support group. So I just took the
Mhm.
Jumpstart program. She trained us very well. And this interview, which I'm able to take right now, I was actually I am still a very introvert person. I don't like talking much. And like I tutored for 7 to 8 months online, but I never turned on my camera. my
Oh, no.
camera my camera was always off. So
Oh,
when I came to the Jumpstart program, the, all the teachers, all the tutors, they encouraged. Then whenever I felt low or somewhat like that, they just kept on encouraging, telling, kept on motivating me. So this podcast is actually, I can say, because of them, and they have filled me with enough confidence that I can sit in front of the camera now, talk to wonderful people like you.
and now you're hosting this and you're doing great. So that's amazing. That's amazing that you came from not wanting to turn your camera on.
Yeah,
I am impressed. Yes. So yes,
I
tutors, yes, training is very helpful in the business of it, the logistics of it, all of that. People have done this before us, right? So we need to learn from them.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
I
very
didn't do
important.
online tutoring. I had done just the slightest, teensiest bit of online tutoring because the friends of mine wanted me to work with their kids and they were in Florida. Um, and when I jumped on and started doing it when COVID hit, I was amazed that it is almost exactly the same when it's one-to-one, especially. I mean, just like I see your face, I can see the student's face, I can see the look in their eyes. If they say they're confident, but they don't look confident, so I can ask them, okay, yeah. And then I can be back to back. I don't have to go to the library, or, other tutors tutor at like local coffee houses, and it's distracting. This is much, much better.
Yeah, it's much better and safe and secure as well. From the
Mhm.
safety and the comfort of our house, even the teacher can teach and the student can learn as well. So how difficult was it for you from transitioning? Okay, I'm not getting the word in my mouth.
Transition.
Yeah, transitioning from offline to online.
So much easier than I thought it would be. I mean, it was like, boom, we learned Zoom, like we all learned Zoom like this, right? All of a sudden it wasn't in our lives, and then it was. And so I called up my students that already, because my students schedule about 6 weeks out. So I had students scheduled to meet me at the library, and we couldn't go to the library. So I called them up and said, we're doing it on Zoom. This is how we're going to do it. And they were like, okay. And we did it. And there it was. I did the same thing. The way that I work is, let me show you. So So I have my students get this book, and so I've got the book and they've got the book. And so we are literally on the same page. We're seeing each other's faces. And I always worked in terms of telling them, I'm kind of old school with, I want them to write their notes down. I want them to write it down. So I have them like ACT, English things I need to know. As we go through it, we've realized you didn't know this comma rule, I have them write it down. It's not going to be any different in person versus this, except that I can't see that they wrote it. But they're paying me for it. They're here, they're writing it. Usually it's, and sometimes you can kind of see, okay, you can tell when they're writing. I can't see what they wrote, but other than that, it's about the same. I did not have, and then in terms, because I already had students scheduled and I just converted them over, I didn't have to convince them on it because they wanted the sessions, they weren't going to cancel. And so then when parents started, I had longer conversations with parents for the next round. And so then I would do a Zoom, instead of a call with the parent, I would do a Zoom consultation so they could see. They were like, oh, my child doesn't know. It's like, good, let's get on a Zoom. Let's see it for real life, how it works, and see if it feels like it works for you. And I did not push anybody. There were a few people that said, we're just going to wait for in person. A few people waited for me for in person until school started again. And so I did a few in-persons for some people, but for the most part, I'm doing it. I love online. I want to stay that way.
Yeah, online actually is a boon, we can say. Now, because if Zoom was not there in our life, I would never be meeting a person from another part of the globe.
I would never have, yes, exactly.
Like, you're sitting there, the sun is giving you light, your moon is passing us the light from the sun.
Right.
So online learning is actually a boon, we can say that. And
It,
uh,
yeah.
on the similar page as you, my student who were offline with me, they also literally helped me out because I tried a lot of things. I was not having the laptop initially. So the internet, then I used to make one of my team member used to sit down holding the mobile for me when I used to teach. So I feel his pain now. Oh my God, poor guy. So I used to make him sit for 1 hour, 1.5 hour till, and all those guys were so much supportive to me. I got a whiteboard, then I used to hold the mobile there, fix it in some place. But it then suddenly I came to know about the pen tablet, then I got it, the whiteboard, Zoom, everything. It slowly, I learned many things. And I think it actually is awesome. Online learning is particularly means it's very good. And as you say, we never know what the student is writing or what is not writing. But when we have invested some time in learning with the student, we know what he is going to do the next step. Like
Yeah.
I when I get connected with some students, I can even tell that if he has done some mistake, I can tell, okay, you did not write bracket there. uh,
Yes. Yes.
you must have also gone through the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
You know which means there are many stones in the way. You will know which which stone hit your student's foot.
Problem for that student. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, what were the initial reactions of your clients and colleagues when you started your tutoring business, online
Um,
business,
so,
basically?
so I got it was totally just me when I moved. So I had been working, when I worked with that person who was my mentor in Florida, she had a non-compete and I was fine with it because she kept me as busy as I wanted to be. So I was only working through her. So then when I moved, I started back up my own tutoring, and so it was a whole new community and a whole new group of people. And I should be able to remember better, but basically still had classmates from my high school who, my child is grown and flown, but they still had kids in high school. So I started with people that I knew, even though I hadn't been here in 20 years, because I had been living in Florida, and I just let them know what I was doing. And I got students. And like I said, when you do get good results, then parents talk. So, as far as my family, they were very, very supportive, and, um, yeah, I just put the word out. I guess I was pretty blessed with some people who were willing to share my information early on, and so I got a lot of I think I got most of my students from the same 3 people consistently referring me for the first year.
Yeah, as you just said that when the results come out, parents talk, and I would just
Yeah.
like to add a line to that. Parents talk and they talk a lot.
They talk a lot, exactly. And in the beginning, I did more of, I would work with some students throughout the whole school year on their academics. Um, but now I don't really have any students like that. Just I'm so full with the ACT tutoring that, and those are an hour and a half, whereas the academic slots are an hour. So I may do some more of the academic tutoring. I usually do some of that in the summer, but I'm mostly focused on the test prep.
That's actually a good thing to do. Being specialized in a particular subject or a particular niche is what gets at more client. Initially, I did this mistake. Like I used to tutor math, I used to tutor physics, chemistry, and I taught a student biology also, which I haven't touched for 8 years of my life till now.
Right.
So it's actually a very what we call it as we have to learn, and it is a very stressful journey. I would say that being specialized. So I just reduced it to math for now, and that too I tutor only elementary and middle school. So I have not gone to like I have taught students from 11th grade as well, but soon I came to know that no, it's not my thing, and it's better to. So as you said, passing on the student, I just added a tutor in my team who could teach that subject.
You can do that as well if you've got a team. Yes. Yes. And that is definitely something that I want to do. I just don't know if I'm going to do it this year or next year.
You can start it immediately. It will be a very smooth journey actually, and it's a very good source of side income. We can say
Hmm.
every hour they work, and as my company is named like Edu-Master online tutoring services, I want many tutors and many students, like hundreds of them in another 2 to 3 years studying on the platform itself.
Good.
Uh,
Good for you. Do you train your tutors or do you seek out already trained and experienced tutors?
uh, I seek out already trained means you won't believe me. I have tutors having 30 years of experience in tutoring or in teaching. So they have been teaching from the time when I was not even born.
Right. That's who I want to work with. I want to work with people who are teachers who really know their stuff, and maybe they've just done a little bit of side tutoring, but they just didn't do they don't want to do the business of it. They don't want to deal with the business of it, but they can show up and do a great job if I get them the students. That's exactly what I want to do as well.
Well, you can hire me and my team.
Awesome.
You don't need to take much tension about it. I can handle the other part of it. You can
Oh,
just
that's so, yeah, that's really good to know. Yeah.
if you have any student out of your niche, any student, I can get you the best teacher, and it's not like going to be like that we are going to enforce the tutor on the student. We'll have initially a demo class of the teacher, if you and we will be having a demo like 15-20 minutes, if we pass it on, then the student will have a free demo class for 30 minutes or 1 hour to check whether the student and the teacher they are a good fit or not. If the
That's good.
student agrees, it's fine, otherwise we'll give them another tutor, and if he doesn't agree for that as well, we'll give him another tutor, more and more.
Right.
So we do, I'm planning to add a lot of tutors. I do have a lot of resumes with me, but I did not go on enlisting them in the team. Why? Because I don't have that much business to pass it on to the teachers. So I'm just, as the inquiry comes, I add them, I just call them, interview them, and add them in the team. So currently there are 5 tutors working with me of different subjects and different grades. So like some of them tutor engineering, the high school students, some of them uh, tutor engineering students, and whatever comes like around math. I have just specialized, means I just want to take math for now and
Mm-hmm.
want to focus on the business aspects, because
Mm-hmm.
us being a solopreneur will be okay till we get fully booked. Once we get fully booked, then after 6 months we stay on the same lifestyle. We just say we want something more. We
Mm-hmm.
it's a human behavior, I guess.
Right.
So I don't, means I will be teaching, but a certain number of hours only, and I'll be focusing on the business of connecting the students and the teachers as well.
That's great because I seem to get requests for physics tutors
I
a
have
lot.
awesome tutors.
Awesome. Good. I'll have to go to the next time I have that request. That's wonderful. I love collaboration.
I really have wonderful tutors. Means sometimes I just wonder, the parents who are happy with my services, they will be very much happy with what my tutors do in their tutoring
Right.
services, because
Right.
they have been tutoring their whole life, and very much positive, means good results they have got.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really get some like inquiries for physics, chemistry, math, biology, you can just check it out. Means
Awesome.
I'm just a message away.
Awesome. That is great.
So next question, here we come to the next question. We all make some mistakes. So are there some mistakes that you made which you rectified and helping you out in growing your business?
Mistakes I made that helped me to grow my business. Um, Probably with my group class, I still have not gotten the magic formula for getting the word out about it. And so I had the group class January, February, March. In March, I didn't promote it early enough. And then I didn't have a May class. I didn't have a class for May because I wasn't consistent. I didn't have a consistent pipeline, and I really don't still have a consistent pipeline. So I feel like for group classes, I may not be able to rely on the same word of mouth marketing, because when they come to me, they generally want the one-to-one. So that's something that I'm still working through, so that yes, it will make my business better once I get that consistent way of communication for that those classes are coming up, that they're every month, that you can join them multiple months because I use a different test to practice with, and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. As you just mentioned about group class, I tried clubbing my students like before 4 or 5 months,
Mm.
and as you said, you don't have the magic formula. Me neither, and I don't want to find it as well, because now I am very much sure that one-on-one is my thing. Means
Hmm.
I can't go, means not I can't go. I found that it's not satisfying for me or my students, because it's very difficult to monitor 2 students, 3 students, or 4 students online. you have tutors, means you have taught students in the school. Physical things like offline classes are different. You can just glance in the whole class and see what everyone is doing. But online, it's really very difficult matching the frequencies. I found it little bit overwhelming. Like in the end of the day, I myself was not satisfied with the performance which I gave in the class. So I just
Mm-hmm.
said that it's fine, and I made my business model as one-on-one only, so that there will be only one teacher and only one student. If someone thinks he can do it, it's always welcome. It's always a win-win situation for everyone. But personally, I don't feel it works out for me. How many students do you generally keep in your group class?
But between 2 and 6 usually.
Yeah, that's a good ratio. That can be
Yeah.
worked out. But you will have to keep the class very interactive, I guess, to keep them
Yes.
all
Yes.
in
Yes.
in
I
touch
didn't
with it.
venture out into it until I developed a strategy with my live class in school, in which each person gets a chance to answer the question and talk about it. And in class, I give them a check mark and they get a grade for speaking. There's no grade for a tutoring class, but I just go through and I actually call on people and they know they're going to be called on and it's part of it. And so they can talk about it and then get some one-on-one right there as we discuss their thinking process, so that it is interactive. I time them and then I have them come back with what their answers are. Yeah, it's got to be interactive.
It got to be interactive to keep all the students
Yes,
actually lively learning in the class. Most of
absolutely.
them, some of them just turn off the cameras and they just sleep. It's not in the tutoring, in the school classes I have observed. Many students, they just, some of my students just wanted to take the class when the school classes were going on. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
to take tutoring when the school classes was going on. I just said, no, you're just not honoring the teacher's time.
Right.
Just listen to him. Even if 2 words you are able to learn, it's more than enough. Your
Yeah.
day will be good. Means it will make your day. You won't realize that now, but in the coming, in the long run, you'll surely know this. And it's uh, very much important. And I have found it out, like, did you find any way to keep students interactive in the class? Can you tell me, like, this is what I want to know personally.
Yeah, just that knowing that they're going to be asked a question and then randomizing it so they don't know when it's going to be them.
So it's just like, oh, my number can be this time saved.
Yeah, and then they don't just say the answer. I always ask them, well, why? Why did you choose that answer? Because that's a big part of the learning, is to know what your thinking process is. So for ACT, that's what it is. Now, if you were teaching elementary math, you could you could share your screen and do games and things like that where they're learning. There's a lot more that you could do with that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's, I will try doing that, like introducing game into the class as well. And we are planning for a workshop with some other company in US for math from first grade to 10th grade. So before our interview, I was just preparing the schedule for the workshop. So I just wanted to ask, as you said, you do a consultation call with the parent. So what exactly means, how does the consultation call actually happen? Because I have a consultation call tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So I ask them questions. I I ask them questions. What are your students' goals? Since I'm dealing with the ACT test, I ask them, have they taken it yet? If so, what are their practice scores or what are their real scores? What are their goals and why? And usually just asking the parent, what are your child's goals? What are your goals for them and why, will get everything out and give them a chance to talk about their goals. If I need to, like, bump them up to talk more, which usually doesn't happen. I'll ask them, like, what do you see as your child's strengths? And I always ask that first. And what do you see as your child's areas of need? And then I can usually always find something from the strength to explain to them how I'll work with their child. So, for example, if a child is much better in math than English, I will talk to them about how they probably like math because it's exactly the same all the time. You put this in, you get this, and it's a rule. And they'll say yes. And I'll say, well, then the way that I'll work with your child with English is to show them that a little bit more than half of the test is rule based for English. So we'll start and we'll build their confidence with here are the rules. And it is, English is not as ooey gooey, it just looks right or sounds right. It's this comma goes here because this is a rule. If they feel like they're good at learning rules, then they can learn that. So you just build on your strengths as a teacher as you're talking to the parent. What I do is I will give examples like I just gave for you. So I'll give a few examples of exactly how I would approach that situation. And usually they like what they hear, and they just got to get a little taste of what kind of tutoring their student's going to get. They're going to hear how I explain something. So also I find that if I can bring up one or two common things that always show up that I always have to share that make really quick results, things that students usually never know, and that I've got a simple way to teach it. And when parents hear that, then they understand that I'm going to be giving real value to their student quickly, right away, that I know my stuff, because that's what they want to know. They want to know that their child's in good hands. Be confident that you know your stuff.
Yeah, they surely want to know that the child is in good hands. So, how much time does this consultation call with the student? And do you have it separately with the parent, or in the same call you talk with the student and parent as well?
I usually only talk with the parent. Once in a while, the parent will set it up and I'm only talking with the student, which is fine. They know what they want. I think the most recent time I did this, I had already tutored her older sister. So I already had a relationship with the family. And then occasionally the parent and child are on the call if it's a Zoom. But I would say 80% of my consultation calls are still on the phone and they're still just with the parent. And it takes about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So, can you please let me know if my strategy going towards the first class or the consultation is correct or not? So I personally talk to the parents first and then set up a free demo class like for 30 minutes, and I take a specific topic, and teach that student. And while the topic is going on, so I ask the students a question so that I'll come to know what exactly he's struggling with. Then after the class is over, the student usually tells the parent that he liked the class or he didn't like the class. Most probably he's going to say yes only, because I had approximately a 100% success ratio. Whenever I have given a demo, I have got selected there. So is this a good strategy to go with by giving a free
You may not
30
need
minutes?
to. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. If the students like the class, then you may want to think about switching to just say that the first class is refundable if they don't like it, but don't make it free. Just book them.
Okay.
It's something you can think about. I don't think once the parent has agreed to connect their child with you, they already trust you. So there's no way I could do it. I don't have enough time. I don't need to do that. They're usually sold. So you may be doing something and giving something away for free that you maybe don't have to.
Yeah, but I personally feel that uh, the marketing which I'm doing right now, so I'm getting connected with the people who I don't know personally,
So you
because
want to kind of get to know them too.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense.
What actually happens is sometimes we end up taking the students who we have to give a lot of energy, and in the end of the day it's just very exhausting. So I just got 2 3 students a mismatch. They were happy with my service, but in the end of the day I feel it's very exhausting taking that particular student. So that half hour is also letting me know about the
Ah,
student.
yes, that makes sense for
Yeah,
the way
because
you're doing. Yeah.
not sometimes I have 2 3 students right now. So the initially what actually happened is the first time the parents said we don't want a demo class, and they paid me upfront for 1.5 month. They paid me upfront, and I was just surprised. Okay, this is happening first time in my life. So what exactly, why is it happening? So the student came. He cleared all my doubts why that happened. So he's actually a very slow learner. Means I don't say or want to discourage them. I give my best in teaching him, but there is always about the attitude of the student towards learning. If he wants to learn, we can help. We can always help someone who wants to learn,
Right.
has the urge to do the hard work. But if the student doesn't want to do hard work, his parents want him to learn, it's going to be a very stressful journey for the tutor. Because
Definitely.
in the end, I personally feel the tutor is going to be blamed, not the
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a tutor who happily, okay, he also says that okay, it's my fault that he did not perform well. There are many aspects to that it can be a bad day for the student. uh, he may be not feeling well, but when the parent says that we sent him to you for a year, so he should have performed well, then I just say, yeah, I'm so sorry, I could not get you the result you were expecting. But there can be other facts as well, but I don't like talking much about that. I just try to minimize the talks at that time. It hasn't happened much, but 1 or 2 times when it happened, I felt very awkward, and I actually want to avoid those conversations as well. So
Mm-hmm.
coming up to my favorite question, did you ever feel like giving up?
Sometimes as a teacher, I have felt like giving up. As a tutor, sometimes I just get a little bit tired, but no, I haven't. It's my retirement plan. I mean, that's what I plan to do ongoing. I feel like it's a blessing to be able to work with students one-on-one or in small groups. But with a particular student, yes. I mean, I've had students who very few. I've just been really blessed, but I have had students who didn't want to work. I did recently have one who was again the academic tutoring and not the ACT tutoring, and the mom knew he didn't want to work, and so she was like, "We're going to try this and see." And we got a little bit done, and then he didn't want to go anymore, and he was complaining to his mom, and she knew it was him. And I said, "Let's just, if that's fine, we can take a break and then let me know if it works out that he wants, he decides he's willing to put his time into tutoring." And he didn't. Um, and that's fine. And maybe there's another tutor who's going to be perfect for him and it wasn't me, and that is okay as well. But I believe this was more like you said, the student, wasn't in the place yet he's a freshman. He didn't get it. He wanted work. Work mattered, school didn't. And so, I tried to connect it to work, but he's too far away. Next year, when he's a junior, yeah, he will probably start seeing that his grades freshman year mattered. But yeah,
And
until he's there.
I'm very sure it was all about him only. And I very much believe that you have been tutoring and teaching very wonderfully. So we actually have that imposter syndrome that, like, if the kid says that, sometimes it comes to my mind, are we doing something wrong? Even though we haven't done it wrong in any sense, the student doesn't want to work. That is how he is not getting his grades. He just simply doesn't want to open his notebook, write down the formulas before solving any questions. It's not none of our faults, we can say. And there is, you must have changed many students' life. So there is always some exception that what we can say, he doesn't, because of his tendency to not work hard, he will be in I just don't hope, but some or the other day he will come to know that he should have worked hard. His parents were providing him the opportunity, you were tutoring him, but student, they don't know at this tender age, they have many more things. I don't know, this era, there are so many distractions for the students, and
Oh my.
they, I don't know, at this tender age they have to think about the world. Some of my students, like, before they met me, they say, sir, I want to change the world. I said, yeah. Okay. And then after a month's time, then I just asked, okay, what did you say you wanted to do? I said, work hard. I'll work hard and get my grades good. Because in the first time, what I do is usually I just try to take this, I just try to enjoy the moment. Okay, fine. I'm going to see this person change and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yep. And people, they will see the results of working hard. And if we can inspire those students to put forth some more effort, and then they see the results, that's awesome. So I do try to give them little wins. Like, if a student gets a question right that I know almost every other student doesn't, I will tell them. I am so proud of you for getting that question right, because almost everybody I tutor gets it wrong. They're like, really? Like, yep. What was your thinking? Blah, 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 blah. Yep, you know it. That's awesome. So proud of you. So just give them like little wins, and then they want to work harder and put that work in. Most of the people who are successful in the world today are not successful because they were just born brilliant in that thing. It was because they put in the time, they put in the hours, and they put in the work. And they may have even been a mediocre student or an average intelligence, and not necessarily gifted in intelligence, but gifted in the ability to persevere and do the work. And when you can do that, you will succeed, and you'll have that strategy to be happy in your life.
Yep. And for sure, they had a mentor like you, all the successful people. Because
Need
I
somebody
had,
who'll be patient with you and believe in you.
yeah, I don't know why people don't take tutoring much seriously. I was having an interview with Robert Travers. He just said a very wonderful fact. All the kings in the world were tutored individually. The best talent in the kingdom was there to teach them.
Yes.
And it has been going on from ages. So this is not a new business, or this is not a
Yeah.
new thing. It's just people got into like school teaching. A lot of students started coming together, and as a business model, they just started, means, putting kids like 50 kids, 100 kids in the same class. Tutoring is actually going on from ages. It is going, and it will be continually going on. So
Absolutely.
coming
And
to
there's
the,
everything from free tutoring available in your schools, perhaps, to very expensive tutoring, to, everything in between. There is something for everybody who needs extra help. And I just feel like they should avail themselves of that.
yeah.
You
So
wouldn't try to
now,
cure your diabetes on your own. You would go to a doctor.
yeah. So, what is something that you would like to tell a person who wants or is thinking to enter this tutoring journey?
Something that I would like to tell that make sure you like kids. I mean, get the age group that you like to work with, like you decided what type of grade level was right for you. Make sure you really like to work with kids and you really like to teach, because the student will know if you are, we are begging them to be engaged. They'll know if you're engaged. And if you're if you're engaged and you know your stuff, then you're going to be good at it. If you care and you've got compassion for the child and you can maximize their strengths, then you're going to be good. And keep going. And also remember, provide value in the community and people will find you.
Your people will surely find you, because there is always a need of good, means good tutors or good
There's
teachers. There is always a scope, even like uh, the good intention, means what I personally feel is what has means what has kept my clients going on, means continuing with me till now, is the pure intention to teach. There are many times I don't know stuff, like sometimes it happens I don't know the particular topic or somewhat like that, but whatever I know, I'll try to tell them the best possible way. And people do respect, people actually are very intelligent beings. So as you said, whether we are interested in the class or not, they will surely find it out, not in the first class, but surely in the next class, because the first class is always that we personally know, oh, I am not interested in this class. The next class student is pakka going, is for sure going to find it out.
Absolutely. Yes. And the other thing I would say to tutors is find yourself a tribe, find yourself a group of other tutors that you can talk to. There's the online, ultimate online tutors group. There's quite a few tutors group. Being that I am in test prep, I am actually a member of an organization that anybody who does test prep might be interested in. You can find it on the website is nationaltestprep.org. And if you Google NTPA, you may find the Tractor Pullers Association. So make sure you go to nationaltestprep.org. There is a NTPA, National Test Prep, on Facebook. And we are a group of across mostly the United States, but not only, tutors who specialize in the ACT, the SAT, the getting into high school, like, and then in the New York Regents and all of those sorts of the SSHE, ISHE, all of the tests that students have to prepare for. If you are a tutor for that, this is a great group to get connected with.
Is this group also on Kajabi app? Does it work there as well?
No. Kajabi, no, it's just got a website and the Facebook, and then a Facebook group called Test Prep Tribe. Now that's not the NTPA, but a bunch of us are members of both.
Yep, I will join it very soon. And if some student want to learn from you or any tutor wants to get in touch with you, so can you please let us know how we can get in touch with you, your website and your email ID?
Absolutely. The website is linkprivatetutoring.com. And on all of my social media, I'm at Link Private Tutoring. So you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Link Private Tutoring. My name's Laura Link, so you can search for that as well. But yeah, my contact information is there, so you can IM me or DM me or whatever on the social media. Facebook, I think, is where I'm most active, even though, like I said, I put this stuff on Instagram, but it goes over to Facebook, and then I'm most active on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you are looking for a test prep tutor to help you raise your ACT or SAT score, I would love to meet you and see if I can help.
And I will surely put the all your website links in the description of the YouTube video as well. So it will be easier for the viewers to just go through there and get in touch with you, because I'm very sure they're going to be very much benefited from your tutoring.
Excellent. And I think my YouTube, I haven't built it up very much. I think it's under Laura Link APR. And it says Ms. Link's class. I need to change that. But yeah, I've got a YouTube as well.
So it was actually a very knowledgeable interview with you, and I'm really very happy that you honored me by coming on this platform. I personally thank you from the entire Edu-Master team, from my whole team, and for sure we'll be meeting up soon again.
Absolutely. I am honored as well. And to learn from you and what you're doing is wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been a great, great talk.
Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome.